Yeah, it seems to be working. Enter. Entrez-vous. Chapter 4, term paper, all things we need to talk about. Let's see if you got sound. Looks like you got sound. How are you? More people coming in. Excellent. Ooh, admit all. All right, so everyone who's online is connecting now. That's excellent. Still waiting for person. I don't know where they're at today. We'll move this around a little bit. Boom. Angle that a little bit. I get everyone kind of standing sideways. A little bit of that, a little bit of that. We can see the screen, but you really see the board. All right. So things going on in the world. Anything going on? I've not been able to get my head above water. Ooh, something on chat. Let's open that up. Sounding good. Excellent. Good. Let's see. I haven't encountered any Zoom issues as of late, which is good. But it's Zoom. It's something that the whole internet technology is very, very useful, but boy, my goodness, is it finicky sometimes. All right, so today I need to talk with you about your rational choice. Right. I think this is where the book actually, yeah, so this is the chapter where it actually started dealing with theories more specifically. We'll give it a couple more minutes. Still wait for my in-person people. I am in the right room, yes. Then I am in the right room. It sounds like there's a party next door. Somebody's listening to 70s music. I don't know. Everybody online's here. Everybody else here in person's like, I know one of you was in my last class just an hour ago. Well, two of you. And you're here. Yeah, the other one's
She was there.
Yeah.
Was there too.
Yeah, I know. It's like, man, she's there. Hopefully everything's okay.
I kind of felt like you're not coming today.
Well, it's
I made myself.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful day. Plus, today is Valentine's Day.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about. It.
Kind of a fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's one of those days that it's like technology. It's both a boon and a bane, right? It's like, without days like this, the human race stops.
Yeah.
Spam callers. Oh my goodness.
My wife's in a nursing home.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Spent 30 some years together, and it's like it's a little rough sometimes. They're not too healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, the healthy.
I don't talk about that. Don't want to brand everybody down.
Yeah.
I've been feeling that way today. Well, we can talk after.
It is like I think I mentioned last class. It's like not today so much, but 2 days ago was a hard day for me because last year Super Bowl Sunday, the 13th. That's whenever I got in a motorcycle accident, all of it. And my goodness, talk about how quickly that medical stuff can unravel life. Whew.
Well, you sound like you talked about it in the last class. It sounds like you kind of came out of it pretty quick, though.
Yeah.
If you're young.
Yeah. No. That's in theory. I'll talk since we got a couple more minutes. We wait for at least one more person. I'll get more of the latitude. Yeah, no. So that was an ER a medical flight out to Tulsa with that accident. Whenever I got there, my wife had gone into labor.
Yeah.
Whenever they took her upstairs, they were gonna let her go, so they decided to release me early so I could go be referred for that. By the time I got up there, they decided they were keeping her. She went to labor. So we spent the next 6 weeks in the NICU. So every day I was driving back and forth with all the kids. And best part was whenever I was being checked out of the ER, one of the docs came and said, I hate to give people news like this, but it looks like you got lung cancer. Yeah, it's like you need to see a doctor ASAP. Yeah, I've been through enough stuff. It's like my risks for that kind of stuff is extremely high. And so gonna be involved with the doctors from now on. So they went through a whole bunch of stuff. That took about 6 months for them to get through all of those tests before they finally go into my lung and cut it and find out, okay, it's pre-cancerous. It's not cancer yet. Just wait.
That's good.
Yeah. And so,
You're pretty young for that, though. You done smoke really, did you? You never-
I smoked a little bit in high school. I started up again with the lung issues. I figured, I'm gonna die from it. I'm gonna get some use out of them. I'm kind of full that way. But, yeah, grew up in a very, very bad environment. So I was exposed to a lot of things that really up that kind of stuff. So, but that's life. You just gotta make the best of it.
You got that right.
Yeah, it's
My
like,
childhood was very unstable.
yeah,
Things out of my control.
yeah.
My mom died. Moved all over the place.
Yeah, well, there's one good thing that comes out of that is you find that strength somewhere, and because it's not gonna be around you again. It's like, that's a hard thing. But the value of it, extremely valuable. Thank goodness, the cost of it is expensive.
That's why, that's kind of why I like criminal justice, because I kind of could have went down that road.
Oh, yeah,
I kind of said that the same for me, being a criminal is not for me.
yeah, there's no future in that.
No.
Yeah.
Not unless like being in jail.
Yeah, yeah. That'd be like, going through the faculty up here and finding how many of them were in contact with, the law in unofficial or official capacities during the youth. A lot of them, right? And, my favorite one was the, forced imprisonment I get in schools, kind of thing, where they literally send me to a prison school for things like, you're standing next to your chair when the bell goes off, like, boo, I sit down as it's still going off. You're in the chair when it went off. It started going off, and you're standing, you're tardy. Since we've given you every single detention that we allow, and we've used them all to the maximum, we'll start sending you to prison school, where you're there with violent offenders. And they watch you like you're a prisoner. It's like, this is awesome. I'm here because I was standing at the wrong second.
Wow.
That's what got me into it. One of the reasons. I got a whole bunch of them. Yeah, it's a mess. But speaking of messy things, we need to talk about theories. It is kind of a mess.
Talk about right.
Yeah, yeah. And so, those of you online, if you can talk, try to. Since right now, there's only a couple of us in the room, and I know what conversation to,
I was gonna talk much today. I was gonna let you run through your whole spiel and then we can get out of here.
okay, well, we can do that. We can do that. Okay. So rational choice, there's a few things to talk about, that we still need to. So the biggest aspect of rational choice has to do with that, you could say, cost, benefit type of thing. The fact that they are going through those processes, to try to figure out what's, the best kind of outcome here. What's the thing that we're trying to do? And is it worth it, kind of thing. I don't know if I want to start there, because I need to talk a little about theory integration. And we'll talk about theory integration. So this is one of those areas, I really like this chapter because they're focusing more on exclusive theories rather than giving you overviews of like they did in the beginning section. It's like, this is what a theory is, or this is the state of crime. It's like, okay, it's useful stuff, but this is the meat and potatoes for theory. It's when you actually start dealing with them, you see what their elements are and how they work together. This one in particular is a really good one to start with because of the way it operates. All of those theories, whether we're talking deterrence, rational choice, routine activities theories, all of those theories particularly are going to fit together really, really well. That's going to be in your, they mentioned ECA in there. I think it did be that group, but your environmental criminology is its own genre, but plus you have the whole area on the professional side that's going to deal with crime analysis, where you can find that one in particular, you'll have entire units within departments that just do that kind of thing. They make pretty good money because it's all stat stuff. Here, we're dealing with that cost benefit analysis of it. We're dealing with the offender side of routine activities theories, the motivations, and how all of that works. So there'll be times where I'll mention an element from another theory and jump off and talk about it for a second. We kind of have been doing that, which is why it almost necessarily will bounce. From there, so whenever they're doing this cost benefit thing, they're going to be dealing with it for whatever incident they're dealing with right then, right? I'm on the road, I'm a burglar, I'm looking at houses, that kind of thing. It's right there in the moment. As you're doing that, what kinds of things do you consider? considerations. You're going to break in. And there's all kinds of things. We talked about some of them already. We've talked about things like, you can go fencing. You could say things like, location. A whole bunch of factors, right? Fencing, how visible am I? Location, I think I talked a little bit about that when I started showing you the blocks. The easy in and easy out's much better. Basically, you start dealing with a whole bunch of factors that are dealing with, well, you could say the specific situation, you could say that specific incident, right? Very situation, right? Everything related to the situation. Here's what'll be useful if you're taking procedures right now. Just like probable cause and reasonable suspicion, everything you take into account, everything. And so these are going to be your situational or contextual factors. You'll also have those related to the individual. Depending on what specific facet of the theories you want to deal with, you can deal exclusively with one aspect or the other, you can interlace the two, or you can start overlapping some of those other theories I was mentioning to really just crack open whatever issue you want to look at from that kind of crime incident perspective. Or deterrence theory perspective or routine activities, because they just melt together. All right.
And it would come in where somebody might go out and case like a place.
Yes, and that's that's where I was trying to get out with the individual stuff. So I didn't see anywhere where it talked about this in the book. They might touch on it, and here's where it starts to overlap with some crime pattern theory stuff. Start dealing with I think this is the phrase, I have to double check it because it's been a couple years since I've read it. But what they do is you start dealing with cognitive maps, right? So as I go through and I commit these specific burglaries, whether I'm doing it on purpose or not, whether I'm it's just this one went well, I feel good about this one, and this one didn't pan out, or I got arrested at this one. If it's someone who's really paying attention, they'll do the numbers kind of thing. Someone who's not, they're running on kind of emotions and feel. But what they'll gain just in doing it is, okay, these went well, these didn't. And if I stop and think about it for a second, what went wrong? And how do I address that? Right? So everything that's going to be associated with that. So just in terms of cognitive mapping, you think about is doing something like this over a long enough period of time, you have enough data and information to gather those things together, say, I can identify a house that's really good to burgle, right? Or, a target to rob, or the opposite sex to rape, it's like whatever your crime is, there's all kinds of things related to that, that they do on that cognitive side. What else did I want to talk to you all about?
I was looking at thing. Do you know that does that? It looks like a mirror. Like
Yeah.
in front of that, and it goes all the way back.
Yeah, infinity. It's staring right at you.
I thought that's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's the same concept, looking out the night sky. It's like, that thing just goes on forever.
I know, that's all I'm saying, it's kind of strange.
Yeah, you could probably test your internet connectivity just by how long it takes for that. It's like one of those things, like if you really think about stuff, you can measure anything in your orbs, a whole lot of stuff with it. All right, so I want to talk to you about, that was the offense and offender. In terms of offender, we need to talk about the following. Okay. We start thinking about this. Okay. That process, think about, the different things you'll weigh as you're going into those types of situations. And then, as you're committing it and successful or not, those weights to those things that you're considering will change, and that's going to affect how you go about and commit those acts. Here's where you start getting down to the you can talk about this in terms of rewards and punishments kind of thing, in terms of learning or Skinner. I want to say they start to do that a little bit, and Am I ready to talk about theory integration yet? I don't think so. Yeah, I guess I will. All right, so here's what we'll talk about that. So one of the most interesting things about theories is as closely as you can fit to any existing theory or dominant theory, the easier it is to analyze something because your measures are already identified, the concepts that you're dealing with are already in existence, and or at least a general idea of what they should look like exists. And usually they'll have even specified the relationship between these directions. So it's like if you delve into the literature, what you'll see is that, okay, so we're going to delve into this. We're going to deal with burglary. And then what we're going to do is we're going to focus on one specific facet of it. And then that's what research does is we'll dig into this one facet and we'll see exactly how it works for this one location that we're studying for that time period. Right? So the closer you get to these theories, the better. But as I said, they integrate. Right here between these two things, what you start doing, that cost benefit analysis, that's going to have some basis in learning, right? Whether you want to think about it in terms of Skinner or just you're just learning it as you go, right? If I started talking about that punishment, that's the big element and why they classify it into the terms that all together, because that's the underlying theme is that, well, you can deter people. That's where you start getting into the, the aspects of the punishment here. So, hey, you're dealing with rational choice, but if you don't have that aspect of that punishment is going to be certain, swift, and severe, like it doesn't matter at all. And this whole thing, that math involved in people's heads changes dramatically. From there, I'll also tie in, so this cost best benefit analysis, that is also same thing as Beckeria or hedonistic calculus. You know hedonism? Yes, my good friend. That's the I'm laying back, someone's fanning me and feeding me grapes as I lay. Yeah, that sounds amazing. Sometimes I want to give people pictures of that because that's always going to be a dream of mine. Being lazy, I love it. Hedonistic calculus is exactly that. That's the principle that underlies all utilitarianism. And Beckeria is that we want to have the greatest good for the greatest number of people and minimize all that's bad for as many people as we can. Right? And so that's the calculus that's under Beckeria. That's the calculus that's underneath this cost benefit analysis under routine activities. And that's why they classify them this way. At the same time, I've identified, it's like, yeah, okay, you're also dealing with learning. You're also dealing with some of the social aspects of it. If I said, of course, routine activities theory is straightforward, but if I said this one right here, the book will talk about this awareness space. They'll talk a little bit about, I remember reading it, I think it was only a couple lines that actually mentioned this. This is itself a huge facet of crime pattern theory, ecological theories in general, that as you interact with the world, you get an idea for what's in it and what your opportunities are, right? Again, theory integration, that's the whole thing. The biggest thing for you all to like walk out of this class with in the semester and leave it, like if I say rational choice, can you identify that I'm talking about that cost benefit analysis? Are you tying it into all these other theories and how they fit together? And then whenever you want to do something actionable that you want to actually study, you start with whatever interests you, and then you pull up, okay, who's been researching what theories do they use, and how do they use them? Because you'll see that, like I said, that the math that's involved with measuring this awareness space for somebody and seeing how it relates to their crime will be the same whether you're dealing with one theory or another if the context is the same. And so basically to start, I fit everything together because integration is a possibility too. That'll come up whenever we start talking about that first assignment. But we'll talk about that in a second. All right. So the next one. That's rational choice. So, Tourist theory is a certain these very celerity, rational choice, cost benefit analysis. Routine activities theory is guardianship, target, offender, right? Each of those will have subtopics within those theories, and you can find additional research that will be quite closely related to whatever you study under rational choice. So your options in terms of literature bodies you can pull from are immense. Okay. Next one. Situational crime prevention. Here is where you're dealing with that context side of things. All of our efforts here under the situational crime prevention are going to be reducing opportunity. What did I write down about this? Yeah, you focus on those offense elements via routine activity theory again. So as you're doing this, you go back to that triangle, right? And so when you start dealing with that, you have, what were those three elements again? That'd be me.
Oh,
Yeah.
Guardian, is that what I'm talking about? Guardian,
Mhm.
like offender and, that's
Offender and target.
target.
Yeah, and so basically what they do for this one is to some degree, they start targeting the people who manage each of these, right? Or for this one, it's like, not just those that handle it, maybe facets about it. That's where you get the crate, concealable, removable, so on and so forth.
Well, guardianship is like having security or something.
What would be, for here,
Yeah.
it takes any number of forms. And most of those things, it's gonna be bound by what you want to specifically look at. So you can talk about, this includes security, this includes cameras, this includes what was it? People. As in just general person, bystander kind of thing. So yeah, there's a guy standing out, oh, this is the Walmart last week. Walk up to your car, and as you're walking to your car, you see somebody who's walking around and they're kind of pulling on door handles. It's like, okay, police officer is gonna do something about that real quick. I, as an average citizen, can be like, okay, I'm gonna call police and just hang back and watch. One thing you can do. That's guardianship. Or I can walk up to the person, hey, I wouldn't do that here. Okay, that's kind of a dangerous one, because if it's someone who is dangerous, it's like, you stepped in it, right? But at the same time, there's gonna be some asshole around who's got an opinion that doesn't like what you're doing, who's gonna tell you. Sometimes that's me. It's like, sometimes that's you. And that's what we do. That's ownership, right? That one would be, you'd start dealing with ownership of like neighborhoods, that kind of thing. I'm gonna deal with this neighborhood study, and in that neighborhood, I'm gonna start wanting to look to see how tight that network is, and then that kind of stuff. So you can start coming in here and deal with that. Whether it's neighborhood leaders that you're trying to mobilize, or whether it's just trying to increase the number of people around, because those eyes are like cameras. In terms of offenders, more than just this, but I think the book talks about the they call them managers. I always get these switched, because I think it's place. Is it place handler or manager, and then the other one's I think it's back. I think this one's handler, and this one's manager. I have trouble with that one, but the book will tell you. The article is better on these. Here you're dealing with those that control that place. Whether it is just the average random person, or if it is someone who has some type of possessory interest in that location, that'd be like, okay, you in your neighborhood, are you likely to stop someone who's see someone who's maybe a minor act of vandalism, they're tearing at something in your neighbor's yard? You don't walk up and go, hey, what you doing? Some people will, some people won't. If you do it, guess what? This decreases, right? It's It's interesting how much community does. So we're gonna talk about that one. So they start focusing on that in terms of this textbook, but there's a lot there. In terms of targets and the guardianship associated with that, they also give you CRAVE. That's where they identify the factors associated with that. I think I've given that to you already. You can see it, removable, attainable, available, valuable, enjoyable, and disposable. And so that's kind of the principle for whenever you're planning it and putting it into action, right? You look at the things you're dealing with and you identify, okay, so these are the specific elements I want to focus on. And I'm going to make a change to something, maybe. And so that's what they'll do. We're going to analyze it, but we're going to make a small change. We're going to focus on this, for this, for this. And as they've been doing that, as they've been conducting research in this area, well, some things are being found. Things I want to talk about were diffusion, displacement, all that good stuff. The discouragement and incapacitation are elements that your book will talk about. They're discussed in the literature, but they're ones that get a little bit less focus because most of it's on this one right here. It's not diffusion, it's diffusion. And displace. Okay. Basically, what that whole section is identifying is that there is considerable debate whether we have any effect on actual crime at all by anything that we do. Just like there are debates as to whether, you know, the crime rates that we see, this high crime area over here and there's no crime over here. Well, it's not that there's no crime, it's just that the police aren't targeting these populations or whatever. It's like, yeah, you have that as an element. It's not the primary element that's driving that force. But here, it's that same underlying argument. Philosophically, do we feel like we're really doing something, and then functionally, does it actually do something? It's not easy to tell, right? This is part of that underlying argument. Diffusion, whenever I talk about diffusion of benefits, or what was the other one I gave you? Because they're basically talking about the same thing. Diffusion of benefits and discouragement. Okay. Discouragement. We're talking about our added effects, I guess is a good way to look at it. Maybe expanded effects. What I mean by that is if we can put it anywhere, whether you're dealing with a business, a school, you in your home, right? You got a problem with crime in your area, an easy thing to do is you put up a camera, right? You put up your camera, what happens to the likelihood that your house will be vandalized?
Say go down.
Yeah, I'll go down. People see the camera like, yeah. Yeah, it's like you'll see a lot. Well, it's like those ring things where you see someone walk out, they see the find different house. Man, yeah. Also, that camera, what does it do for your neighbors? That person on the other side of the street where your camera's pointed, they're probably not going to go there either, right? If it's the same crime and expanding in the area, I believe that's diffusion of benefits as they have it. Yeah. And then discouragement. Nope, I flipped that. Discouragement would be for outside areas for the same thing. No. Side area. Same type of crime. This one's same area, different type of crime, right? That's how this book will put it. Research articles will do it differently. Some will just call it diffusion as the overall trend. But that's one to be mindful of. If you want to delve into this and you see those words being used, they are not quite interchangeable, but they are really, really close. And sometimes they treat them that way. I'm guilty of that one. Okay. Displacement. Displacement is, did you really stop a crime or did they just go to the house that the camera can't see? Right? Maybe to some degree it delayed it. Right? And that's where you start to get a little bit to that incapacitation element that they're talking about in the textbook. Capacitation. But really, it's probably more than likely just moved because that motivated person still wants to go do it. They just need to find a better target. And so that's what you'll see. And as you study certain things, they tend to do it spatially. They talk about it in terms of like edge effects and things of that nature, where anything that you do, usually what will happen is it trying to literally just move away. Just a little bit. Enough to where it can still function. But that's the whole point. All right. Incapacitation, I shouldn't need to explain that one. Extinction. That one I do need to talk about because that is actually the inverse of Skinner. If you guys are psychology people, or if you've taken anything related to that, red skin. In here, we talked about it when we were talking about that risk and rewards that were associated with rational choice. Here, what you have to realize is what we're trying to do is we're trying to stop crime. So the very first thing we're trying to do is, since we're trying to stop crime, that's kind of a negative thing we're trying to do. We're trying to cause that behavior to stop, which for psychology people, they'll call that the extinction. For this field, what they're calling it extinction is, okay, because we're trying to stop crime, we institute some type of change, some type of effort, right? Whatever it may be. And then as we do that, crime reduces, but over time, crime goes right back up, right? So this is time. So institute change, crime goes down. Over time, crime climbs right back up because people like to commit crime. People commit crime. Some people don't want to commit crime, but they learn, right? All the forces at play that cause the crime to exist in the first place don't necessarily change here. All you're doing is trying to stop that behavior from being produced. Will it? It can, but I wouldn't expect it to be a long-term type of thing. Skinner will tell you that if you study it. He'll say extinction doesn't really work because what happens is people only learn. You'll just learn a context not to engage in that behavior. And as soon as that context changes, it'll come right back. In this case, what it is as soon as I figure out a way to change it to where that effort no longer has an effect, I go right back here. And this is that extinction element that they're focused on in here. Important distinction. Okay.
Then in there, it says they learn like how to go around that. Like
Yeah.
they have foot patrol, they learn their time.
Yeah.
If they have a burglar alarm, they learn how to dismantle it. It's just,
Mhm.
it helps for a while, but
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like,
they figure a way around it.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like whether you're talking the time shifts, like they'll learn the shift changes because they'll see when the police are out and when they're not. And okay, when am I seeing over time consistently that there are no police? I mean, here's a good way that really gets my mind kind of kicking on for really being creative. And how is it we figured out that I take was it the Mayans here, figured out the calendar, right? What'd you do? You went outside and you looked at the night, a whole bunch of nights in a row, and you put all that information together and you got a calendar that is one of the most accurate ever seen because you're just looking, right? They're doing the same thing for their own purposes. Yeah, it's always going to be like that. It will always be like that. Let's see here. General deterrence is what the book moves into next. We've already talked about that. That's the overall kind of area, one of the overall areas of this kind of flows into. If you look at deterrence theory versus any of this other stuff, deterrence theory predates first. It predates all that stuff. So that's why I talked about it first. So that's where they talk about certainty, severity, and celerity. They also talk about different types of deterrence in terms of marginal and restrictive. So, situation, crime prevention, fusion, displacement, incitation, extinction, seeing the directions it can go. And now we need to talk about
jumping into the con part of it, like
Yeah, so you start moving from,
the good, the bad. part
yeah,
for the
well,
criminal.
it's sort of like, how they start to classify it kind of thing, maybe is a good way to look at it, so. We have. Rational choice is kind of how they work through it. The situational crime prevention stuff and what's outlined there is a little bit about some of the learning processes that are involved. And then by the time you start talking about deterrence, of course, we already mentioned there's general versus specific. They also talk about a couple other types. They talk about marginal and restrictive. So general is everyone, specific is going to be user focused, we'll put it that way. So whoever the specific person is individually focused. Marginal. So those elements that were in the theory that certainty, severity, and celerity. As we spell that one, I always think celery. What effects do they actually have on crime? Right? And so when you start hearing them talk about marginal deterrence, they're talking about the degree to which it actually has an effect, and it can be extreme. That's actually one of the biggest critiques for this area, this just deterrence in general, is that it doesn't work. Well, it's not really an explanation for why crime is committed. This is a reason why crime is not. And at some points in time, a lot of theories that do that. It's like, okay, an important shift here. Do take note that this is one that's why we don't, not why we do. And so that's why it leads off into that crime prevention area, why it takes you off in these areas. It's messy because it's social, but there is logic there. Yeah. So anytime you see marginal, they're talking the degree to which those factors decrease crime. Restrictive or partial deterrence. This one's actually pretty good. This one, what they did is they gave you, we'll say positive, negative, negative. And so what they did is they broke it down into classifications, so categories. So as you're trying to enact these efforts to deter people, what responses you get from it. I write the name down. I didn't write their name down. I hadn't seen this before, so I liked it. What this person did, I want to say it was a she, but I can't remember the name. Okay, well, if we're looking at general ways to categorize those responses, well, I can do a few different things. If I'm starting to worry about the efforts to stop me, and it's going to stop me from doing it so I don't have to face the punishments, one of the things I can do is I can commit less crime, less crime, right? I'm still doing the same types of crimes that I was doing before. I'm doing them less frequently because that's exposure, right? The other thing I can do is less severe crime. I change my crime types. Like maybe the crime count doesn't change. Right here, this is going to be numbers. This one's going to be maybe seriousness. Next one. These two are going to be, well, this one is situational. Meaning it's only going to be able to be enacted in the actual moment that you're committing said crime. Efforts you're taking to reduce your detection. Right? I'm going to dress differently, or I'm going to whatever. There's all a bunch of stuff on there. Yeah, the other one is also situational. These two. Risky. Context. Risky situational contexts. Maybe that person gets some reduced detection, so they can still do it. Or maybe they've identified a risky situational context, meaning that, okay, there's something about this house that means I will not be able to get this done here. I have figured this out because I have tried this crime at least 40 times, and out of those 40 times, the 7 that had this, each time those things went wrong. You know, whether it's the sign for the dog in the yard is a good one because people don't like to get bit. I don't really care if police show up, that damn dog, that sucks, right? And so I see that sign, it's like, that's a risky thing. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go somewhere else. Right? Strict. Didn't people steal and sell information? Phones are ringing for the last few months because of that.
There's something on the news about that, some college related
Hospital.
somebody sued.
Well, I don't know about that one. The hospital did it most recently. It's like, yeah.
I saw I don't remember the name of the college, but they did that, but the people sued them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's like,
That's
that's,
not supposed to do that.
that's all protected stuff. Yep, it's protected.
So.
Yeah.
That's basically when the deterrent you're talking about risky situations, it's something that you can do to keep that person from wanting to do it. So it's like.
Yeah, so it's their perspective on that same thing. Yeah, so this is the one where it's like, yeah, something you did worked.
Something you did, and then what's the.
Reduced detection, that's something that they're doing to counteract what you
What
did.
they're doing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the less severe.
Yeah, that's why I put the positive negatives here, right? So these are positive, right? We get less crime.
Right.
That's good. We reduce the number. We get less severe crime, so less serious crime. That's also good. Or they get smarter and figure out how not to get caught. It's like, that sucks. I don't like that. Or, well, I'm not really gonna change anything. I'm just gonna pick a more vulnerable target. Okay, now we're gonna focus on more of the vulnerable people. That's excellent. You know, and that's how it always goes.
It's good for them.
Yeah.
Not for the.
Yeah, I've outrun the bear, but the slow people, man, they're getting chewed to death. It's like, yeah, let's not do that one either. That's really good, not good for society. And then from there, it moves into the specific deterrence and recidivism and incapacitation. And that's all stuff you guys have in like 6 other courses. You know that, yeah, if you're gonna deal with people specifically, what ends up happening is, hey, just in the trial process itself, we start using the crimes you've done against you when you get to the sentencing stage, because, yeah, this thing right here. So you've got all of those processes with also the research associated with it. But at a very bare minimum, you have that incapacitation element that they won't be out in free society to commit further crimes. But that also leads into discussion about corrections and the crimes that take place there. But that's a different class, so I'm going to talk about that.
That's what this chapter talks about.
Yeah, they do that a couple different times. That's why
Looks like most of the
yeah, and so there'll be sometimes where I skip over stuff. I'll focus more on the theories and a lot of the other information you'll get that you've got in other courses. Like when we were talking about crime numbers, it's like you spend maybe 2. I'm not gonna spend a whole chapter's worth of time because it's stuff we've had before. This though, that's gonna be functional. From there.
Those are a lot of studies people do on that kind of stuff. You'd think there would be.
Yeah.
How to keep crime from happening.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about, it's a relatively small group of people that are doing it. When I say relatively small, you're talking a few hundred. But some of them are pumping out, a dozen articles a year. It's like, and different universities, different focuses, kind of thing. Ones that are more research oriented, they'll build teams together just only for that. Like, it's good, but also doesn't get everything done.
Speaking of research, do you guys do research here?
Yes, we do. And so that leads us to the final topic for the day. Yes.
Getting off the subject.
Yeah, no, that's actually right, spot on. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen and we'll talk about that. Okay, so this is your class. You may have noticed that I think it was yesterday. It might have been the day before. I don't think it was. Yeah, it would have been yesterday. I put in a new section in here that shows class videos.
Yeah.
And so I uploaded those. I'll probably upload this class probably tomorrow because I don't know if I'll be at computer here to get it done after class because it takes a little long for it to format and everything. That's there, but the big one, as you can see, quiz here, that's available. That one closes on Monday. It's been out there for over a week, I think. If you need more time, let me know. Exam 1 is here, but it's hidden right now because we haven't done a review. As soon as we do a review, I will open it. You can take it as you please. If you want to take it in person, you're more than welcome to.
What you can do as many times as you want.
Yes.
It's kind of like the other procedures class.
Exactly. Yes, I tend to do that. So I started playing with that a couple semesters back, and I found it did actually help with people's grades. So what I have are fairly large random pools of questions. And so it'll pull X number. And so people will take it, and usually what I'll see is they'll spend about 5 minutes in the first one. And we'll do it again, we'll spend a little bit longer, and we'll do it again. And by the time they've taken it 3 or 4 times, they get the full grade if they want and stop taking it. Okay, well, I got an idea for what's on the test now, because I've been quizzed about those questions enough that they'll remember. I'm not a big person for, like, well, I use tests and that kind of stuff. It's helpful for some things, but for what you really need to do, if you want to set yourself up right, you'll focus here. All right, so theory term paper. We have one term paper. I broke it up into the different sections for you all so you can see how it's going to be dealt. The first one is, we're starting the conversation. What kinds of theories sound interesting to you? What kinds of topics sound interesting to you? Right? We'll marry the two and see what's out there, and then start playing with those ideas, because that's quite literally how it goes. From there, we'll look at writing the introduction, which is going to be basically the argument you're putting forward for why this isn't a significant issue that warrants my time reading it. Not like my time as your teacher, but if you were to do something, send out for someone else to read it. Okay, from there, we'll spend some time outlining the theories, whether it's the original theory itself, or however it has developed over time, or whatever specific facets you want to use. And we'll write the lit review on it, which is where you synthesize all the existing material. That's its own bear. If you want to know where the most difficult body of information to wrap your head around is, it's stuff like that. And it's the same way over the legal side. It's not so much that you know the cases, specifically all of them, but how the whole thing works together. And that's what this kind of does. And that's a whole process. And as we're writing that, we'll be working on that. I'll give you guys some feedback on that. First one is overview. Yeah, so first one is just a list of, here is a list of some theories. This is a list I actually took from a different textbook. But that's not an all-inclusive list by any means. I cut off several that are right off the bat. Most of these can be classed down to like main avenues kind of thing. But I figured this list will give you a few ideas to play around with, and depending on what kinds of things you guys are interested in, we'll write the front end. By the time the semester is, you're wrapping up with this paper, I'll ask you if you want to play with the real numbers. You want to play with real numbers. Guess what? You play with real numbers, you write up the results, you got a project. Now, if you want to work on that for another year and go to graduate school, think, yeah, you could get a master's if you want to have a capstone, or not capstone, but a thesis, actual research you've conducted, and set yourself up for a career doing stuff like this, whether it's crime analysis or just running data for any business anywhere. Very useful in our fields, because if you can do numbers, you can do anything with numbers, whether it's money. People like money. Money has a lot of power, but numbers are more important. But that right there, we'll start there, because I don't think I mentioned this last class. So take a little bit of time, hop over in Google Scholar, pop in these terms and see what kinds of things that pop out. Also go over to Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not a good source. This is the only time I'll tell you to do this. Go over there, pop in these terms, and see what it pops up. Make sure it's criminology or criminal justice, and not sociology, because there'll be some differences. But that right there, that's how you get started, and we'll build from there. Eventually what we'll have is, 2 to 3 pages for an introduction, a few pages for a lit review, and then by the time it's all done, you got a 5 to 8 page paper, not including any types of cover pages, references, those types of things. And you've got the skeleton of a research project. You got one if you want one.
Yeah, because I was kind of looking at the conflict there. Well, see, that's the theory part of it.
Yes.
Or the the topic, is that the topic part?
Well, this is just like the theory part. It says topic and theory. We'll start with theory. And well, actually, I said, select a criminal justice topic in the department can be specific or general. So it'd be like, I like crime. Okay, that's really general. Okay, we can work with that. Or you can be like, I want to deal with disproportionate minority confinement in these, whatever. It's like, okay, then you're probably looking at maybe some of these theories, or these theories, depending on which facet you want to focus in on. You said conflict. What you'll probably run into with issues with that is what the hell is it in terms of, are you dealing with what's actually conflict theory, or are you dealing with critical or the realist stuff? I may have spoken a little bit negatively towards that earlier in the class, we were talking about utilitarianism because of how much it's grown. People like to question things that they don't realize they're taking away the base of the pillar kind of thing. Conflict is older. Probably a good place to start is the guy by the name of Bold. It's a really old piece, and I think it'd be a really good one that you'd like to read. Send me an email, send it to you. Basically, what you start dealing with is cultural conflict. It's the cultural processes that these people have that conflict with the legal processes that are built off of a different culture, right? That's conflict, right? That's different than the critical, like, yes, we did this to you because you're a cultural group. The article I'll send you, it gives probably the best example I've ever seen was an Italian father in the early 1900s. Moves here because of famines with his family. Wife meets a local, or girlfriend, or daughter gets a boyfriend, local boy, and guess what? I'm from Italy. You just besmirched my honor. I'm going to shoot you in the face, and that's what ends up doing. He kills the kid, and when he's getting the handcuffs thrown, he doesn't know why I'm getting handcuffed. This is normal. I'm supposed to be able to kill the person who's trying to do this to my daughter. I'm supposed to protect my daughter because there it's accepted. At least it was.
It's like Muslims, they have honor killings or something.
Yeah, they have honor killings too. Yeah, and so it's, you know.
So I guess what I was looking at, cause I looked at that, and so it's got a sociological, and then it's got like conflict, it's got criminal justice. The only thing really talked about topics of that is social, like if you make a lot of money, the odds of you getting convicted are a lot less.
That's Marxism.
Yeah, well,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, Marxism, it has its uses, but it's an infectious idea. People like it a lot, and basically what it does is now it's proletariat versus the bourgeoisie, right? It's the rich versus the poor, and of course you're the oppressed poor, even though most people today are not.
But you don't think there's any statistics to back that up, though, is there? It's like O.J. Simpson. Well, if he didn't have no money at all, he'd be in jail.
That's true.
You know,
it gets really hard because what you're dealing with it's not just like the abstract theories and principles that guide it, it's another level. It's the thing that guides the idea or beliefs that guide those theories kind of thing. And with that one, it's been really, really hard because that one has gotten so popular with so many people that, like I said, that there are little departments where that's all that they do and that's all that they'll hire. And it's just, it is not what this is about. This is about proliferation of ideas, not entrenchment of.
So we have to have that due by Monday, right?
If you can't get it by Monday, if you need a couple extra days, we can do that. But the main thing is just picking a theory and starting the conversation. Having you all submit something to me is a good way to get that started, because if I don't do that, if I just ask you what you're interested in, it's like that might be a classroom conversation, but it won't go any further for some reason.
Monday might be it.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah, that's super deadline for that.
Because I don't know, you made me start thinking maybe that's not a good one to do.
It would be, it's just, one of the things we'd have to do is we'd have to pull that out and spend some time. And I've not spent much in conflict to be able to pull out the recent stuff that would fit in with that's not Marxist. And so it would be very useful because you get back to the elements that I should take more priority in that area. But building it would be a little bit of a bear, but that's part of the fun. Have fun with it. Just and it can be something where even if you don't have the theory part of it, it's like if you just have the topic, we can start shooting there. If you don't have a topic and you just have a theory that you think you like, we can start there.
So the theories are the ones you have.
Yeah, I've got some listed, but
so
if
what
you
a
want,
topic, let's just throw something out
Okay.
there, like a topic.
enemy and strain, you'd be looking at everything in the last 3 years related to COVID. everything.
Okay, and then you
Right.
do research on that?
Yeah, so it'd be, what specific aspect of strain that you want to focus in on its effects on crime? Or it'd be like, what crimes you want to focus in on that's gonna be cited in strain? Or if you said like, what would be, some other good ones? There's so many here. It's really hard to just sit down and be like, okay. So, broken windows theory. I'm gonna take a look at crime rates across, a municipality. And I'm going to track it along with SES, all of your basic demographics. And if it's a local town, maybe I'll just go out there and take some pictures. Right? And maybe we'll see if, and I literally had someone was talking with a couple years back that did this for one of their studies. They were doing, it was a study on attitudes around the neighborhood that they were studying. And so they were presenting pictures to people and then, okay, give me your feedback on these pictures. What the issues do you find? And what they did is, okay, I've got this for X number of people. I put all that information together. Okay. Okay. How many people were afraid of what types of things? And I got a new data set to add in with your control variables you already have. You got your study done. All right. And it literally can't be that simple.
I guess I'm having a little bit of problem figuring out what a topic would be.
That's always the struggle.
The theory is the easy part.
Yeah.
It's the topic that's the hard part.
Well, if you can't think of a topic, just send in the theory. And so what'll happen is we'll just sit down and start talking.
I'll have to do some studying on that.
Yeah. So have fun with that. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time. If you need anything, let me know and we'll do a review for the test next.
So we're here on Monday, right? It's not, it's a holiday, but we're here.
I think we're here. I've not heard anything about being closed. I know we had Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, but it shows up on the calendar,
Yeah.
you know, right, that.
Oh, that's a shame. Maybe we got it as a snow day.
That's what I was thinking, but I'm always here.
All right, cool. Well, I will
Unless
catch you.
something's really wrong.
Okay.
There is something that might come up.
Yeah, here. See you guys later.